Picture this: an island where reality bends, where trees defy gravity with their roots reaching skyward, where creatures with luminous eyes pierce the darkness, and where the very air vibrates with sounds that seem pulled from mythology itself. You might think I'm describing a fantasy novel, but I'm not. This place exists right now, spinning through space, on our very own planet. If you're ready to journey to one of Earth's most extraordinary places, hit that like button and subscribe, because what you're about to discover will change how you see our world forever. Welcome to Madagascar, a fragment of time itself, frozen in the Indian Ocean for 80 million years. To grasp why Madagascar defies every rule of nature, we need to rewind the clock not by decades or centuries, but by hundreds of millions of years. Imagine Earth when its face was utterly unrecognizable. Back then, there were no separate continents as we know them today. Instead, one colossal landmass dominated the planet, Gondwana, a supercontinent where South America, Africa, Antarctica, India, and Madagascar pressed together like pieces of a cosmic puzzle. Then, around 160 million years ago, something profound happened. Deep beneath the surface, the planet's molten core began shifting. Massive rifts tore through the ancient landscape. The continents started their slow dance apart, and Madagascar, still clutching onto Africa, began its journey into isolation. For millions of years, only a narrow channel of water separated them, close enough that some species could still make the crossing. But then came the second separation, the one that sealed Madagascar's fate forever. Approximately 88 million years ago, the island tore away from India and drifted westward into complete solitude. No land bridges remained, no pathways existed for large predators or massive herbivores to cross. Madagascar became Earth's ultimate evolutionary experiment, a floating laboratory where life would take paths never seen anywhere else on the planet. Think about what this means. For 80 million years, this island evolved in complete isolation, while the rest of the world saw the rise of great cats, massive elephants, and sophisticated predators. Madagascar's destiny unfolded along an entirely different trajectory. The creatures stranded here faced a simple choice: adapt to this new reality or vanish entirely. And adapt they did in the most spectacular ways imaginable. As millions of years rolled by, Madagascar's geography transformed into something truly remarkable. Mountains rose from the earth, valleys carved themselves deep, and the island's position in the Indian Ocean created one of nature's most dramatic contrasts. On the eastern coast, moisture-laden winds from the ocean collide with the highlands, unleashing torrential rains that feed rainforests so dense that sunlight struggles to penetrate their canopy. This is a world of perpetual mist, where water drips constantly from leaves, and the air itself feels alive. Journey just a few hundred kilometers west, and you enter a completely different planet. Here, the mountains block the rain clouds, creating what scientists call a rain shadow. The western regions bake under relentless sun, transforming into semi-desert landscapes of thorny scrubland, spiny forests, and vast stretches of cracked red earth that burn like fire beneath your feet. The contrast is so extreme it seems impossible. How can one island contain both tropical paradise and arid desert? This dramatic divide became the engine of evolution. In the wet eastern forests, species developed strategies for life in perpetual dampness. In the dry west, creatures evolved entirely different survival mechanisms for a world where water is precious and heat is unforgiving. Between these extremes, countless microhabitats emerged, each one birthing its own unique forms of life. Geckos developed camouflage so perfect they literally vanish against tree bark. Frogs evolved to spend their entire existence in the treetops, never once touching the ground. And the island's original primates, somehow reaching these shores from mainland Africa on natural rafts of vegetation, found themselves in paradise. With no predators hunting them, no competition from monkeys or apes, these ancient primates exploded into more than 100 distinct species of lemurs. Each found its own niche, its own voice, its own way of dancing through the forest canopy. Some became tiny, weighing less than a deck of cards. Others grew larger, more social, more vocal. Together, they became the heartbeat of Madagascar's forests, the living proof that isolation can spark unprecedented creativity in evolution. But to truly understand modern Madagascar, we must travel back even further, to a time so alien it challenges imagination itself. More than 70 million years ago, during the late Cretaceous period, this island looked nothing like it does today. The climate was hotter, more humid, with rain falling almost daily. Mangrove forests choked the coastlines. Ancient rivers snaked through landscapes thick with vegetation that has long since vanished from Earth. This was the age of dinosaurs, and Madagascar hosted some of the most fearsome creatures ever to walk our planet. In the fossil-rich rocks of the island's western regions, paleontologists have uncovered evidence of a prehistoric world that seems pulled from nightmares. Among these ancient stones lie the remains of Majungasaurus, a carnivorous dinosaur that stretched over 7 meters long and weighed more than a ton. With its thick skull, short arms, and curved blade-like teeth, this apex predator ruled Madagascar's Cretaceous ecosystem with terrifying efficiency. But Majungasaurus had a dark secret, one that makes it particularly infamous among dinosaur enthusiasts. Fossil evidence shows unmistakable bite marks on Majungasaurus bones, bite marks that perfectly match the teeth of other Majungasaurus specimens. This creature didn't just hunt other species. When food became scarce in its isolated island kingdom, it turned cannibal, feeding on its own kind. It's one of the clearest pieces of evidence we have that dinosaurs sometimes ate each other. Meanwhile, in the flooded forests and open plains, another giant moved with gentle grace. Rapetosaurus, the only known long-necked sauropod of Madagascar, stretched more than 15 meters from head to tail and weighed up to 10 tons. Unlike its carnivorous neighbor, Rapetosaurus was a plant eater, using its crane-like neck to reach vegetation that no other animal could access. Fossil evidence shows that juvenile Rapetosaurus fell prey to smaller carnivorous dinosaurs, revealing a complex web of predator and prey relationships that scientists are still working to understand. And the dinosaurs weren't the only monsters here. In the murky swamps lurked something truly bizarre. Beelzebufo ampinga, nicknamed the devil frog. This wasn't your typical pond frog. It was the size of a soccer ball, weighed nearly 5 kilograms, and possessed a bite force strong enough to crush small dinosaurs. Its thick armored skin protected it from attacks, and instead of croaking, it hissed, a deep, rasping sound that would have silenced every smaller creature within earshot. Even the frogs of prehistoric Madagascar were monsters. Then came the event that changed everything. 66 million years ago, an asteroid slammed into Earth near what is now Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. The impact unleashed catastrophic fires, tsunamis, and threw so much debris into the atmosphere that sunlight dimmed for years. Across the planet, ecosystems collapsed, having dominated Earth for over 160 million years, vanished almost overnight. But Madagascar's isolation once again proved crucial. While the extinction was devastating worldwide, this island fragment retained pockets of life that would go on to flourish in the post-dinosaur world. As ice ages came and went over millions of years, new giants emerged to fill the ecological gaps left by the dinosaurs. Across the western plains strode Epiornis, the elephant bird, standing over 3 meters tall and weighing half a ton. These massive flightless birds laid eggs larger than a human head. A single egg could feed a family for days. With no large predators to fear, they wandered freely, becoming gentle giants in a world that had forgotten monsters. Alongside them lived giant lemurs, some as large as adult gorillas. Megalodapus, with its koala-like face and massive body, clung to trees despite its enormous size. Aldebrachales, giant tortoises with shells like boulders, moved slowly through the undergrowth. Pygmy hippos wallowed in rivers and lakes. Together, these creatures created an ecosystem that seemed to defy logic, where the rules governing the rest of the world simply didn't apply. This dreamlike age persisted for millions of years, a testament to evolution's creativity when given isolation and time. But every golden age must end, and for Madagascar's prehistoric giants, that ending came not from the sky or from ice, but from across the sea. About 2,000 years ago, seafaring peoples from Southeast Asia and East Africa made a journey that would forever alter Madagascar's destiny. They arrived on outrigger canoes, navigating by stars and currents, and set foot on an island that must have seemed like paradise. Forests stretched to every horizon. Rivers ran clear and full, and everywhere they looked, they saw creatures unlike anything in their homelands. Massive birds that couldn't fly, lemurs as big as humans, tortoises the size of tables. To these early settlers, Madagascar offered abundant resources. But for the island's ancient inhabitants, humanity's arrival marked the beginning of catastrophe. The elephant birds, having never encountered human hunters, made easy prey. Their massive eggs provided instant feasts. The giant lemurs, slow-moving and trusting, fell to spears and traps. Tortoises were captured and kept alive as living food stores. And perhaps most devastatingly, humans brought fire. To clear land for farming, settlers practiced slash-and-burn agriculture. Forests that had stood for millions of years went up in flames within decades. The smoke that rose from Madagascar during this period was visible from great distances, a funeral pyre for an entire world. Within a few short centuries, the elephant birds vanished completely. The giant lemurs followed them into extinction. The colossal tortoises disappeared. Species that had survived asteroid impacts, ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and 80 million years of isolation could not survive the arrival of a single new predator: us. When the smoke finally cleared and the hunting pressure subsided, Madagascar had been fundamentally transformed. The age of giants was over. What remained were the smaller creatures, the more adaptable species, the ones who could hide, who could flee, who could survive in the fragments of habitat that humans left behind. This was the new Madagascar, a world built on ruins, where the inheritors of an ancient legacy struggled to persist in an increasingly hostile landscape. Walk through the rainforests of megafauna today, or stand beneath the towering baobabs of Morondava's famous avenue, and you're standing on hallowed ground. Beneath your feet lie the bones of Majungasaurus, the eggshells of Epiornis, the fossilized footprints of creatures dead for tens of millions of years. But look up, and you'll see that the story isn't over. Madagascar remains one of the most extraordinary places on Earth, a living museum where evolution's masterpieces still breathe. The lemurs are perhaps the island's most iconic residents, and for good reason. With no monkeys or apes to compete with, these primates diversified into forms ranging from the adorable to the bizarre. The mouse lemur, weighing less than 50 grams, is the world's smallest primate, small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. The ring-tailed lemur, with its distinctive black and white striped tail, has become the face of Madagascar worldwide, living in social groups that communicate through complex vocalizations and scent marking. But the most haunting of all might be the Indri, the largest surviving lemur. Every morning in the eastern rainforests, Indri families sing together, long wailing calls that echo through the mist-shrouded canopy, like whale songs translated to land. These calls can carry for several kilometers, and hearing them is an experience that stays with you forever. It sounds like the forest itself has found a voice, singing songs that have resonated through these trees for millions of years. Yet every one of these species exists under threat. The lemur's golden eyes hold more than just beauty. They hold fear, the knowledge that their world continues to shrink with each passing year. Madagascar has no lions, no leopards, no hyenas. But nature abhors a vacuum, and so it created a predator uniquely suited to this island realm. The fossa looks like something a child might draw if asked to combine a cat, a mongoose, and a small puma. Stretching over a meter long with a muscular body and a long tail for balance, the fossa moves through the forest canopy with ghost-like grace. It's the only predator large enough and agile enough to hunt adult lemurs in the trees. When night falls and the fossa begins its hunt, its short, chilling cry echoes through the darkness. To the lemurs, this sound means terror, the one predator they truly fear, the apex hunter that evolution created specifically to pursue them. But even this king of the forest has become vulnerable. As habitat shrinks and humans kill fossas perceived as threats to livestock, their numbers dwindle. The last true apex predator of Madagascar faces an uncertain future. The masters of disguise continue their ancient craft. Madagascar's leaf-tailed geckos have perfected camouflage to an almost supernatural degree. When pressed against tree bark, they become essentially invisible. Their bodies flatten, their skin mimics cracks and moss. Even their eyes seem to disappear into the pattern. You can stare directly at one and never see it until it moves. The chameleons, though, might be evolution's greatest show-offs. Madagascar is home to more than half of all chameleon species on Earth, and most exist nowhere else. Some are no larger than your fingernail. Others grow to the length of your forearm. Their independently rotating eyes can look in two directions simultaneously, scanning for both prey and predators. Their tongues strike faster than the human eye can follow, accelerating at forces that would knock a human unconscious. They're living proof that sometimes truth really is stranger than fiction. If the animals are Madagascar's soul, then the baobabs are its ancient guardians. These extraordinary trees look like they were planted upside down, with swollen trunks that can reach 30 meters in circumference and branch patterns that resemble roots grasping at the sky. Local legend says the gods grew angry with the baobab's vanity and planted it upside down as punishment. Baobabs evolved to survive in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Their massive trunks store thousands of liters of water, allowing them to endure years of drought. Some individuals have lived for more than 2,000 years, standing as silent witnesses to the rise and fall of civilizations, the extinction of giants, and the transformation of their entire world. When the dry season turns everything else brown and brittle, the baobabs remain, swollen sentinels guarding Madagascar's memory. During the brief rainy season, they burst into magnificent white flowers that open at night, pollinated by fruit bats and moths. These flowers last only 24 hours before falling, carpet the ground like snow. The fruit that follows, called monkey bread, is packed with nutrients and has sustained both wildlife and humans for millennia. In a very real sense, these trees are pillars holding up entire ecosystems. From space, Madagascar looks like a wound. The satellite images tell a story of destruction that becomes more heartbreaking with each passing year. Where once continuous forest covered the island, now only scattered fragments remain. Isolated patches of green surrounded by red earth, like islands adrift in a barren sea. In just 1 century, Madagascar has lost more than 90% of its original forest cover. The remaining forests are broken into isolated fragments, ecological islands, where species wait for extinction. The forest isn't merely habitat, it's the island's lungs, its water storage system, its soil anchor, its very soul. When the forests die, everything begins to unravel. The primary culprit is slash-and-burn agriculture, locally called tavy. Poor farmers, seeing no other option for survival, set fire to forests to create temporary farmland. The ash fertilizes the soil for a year or two, but then nutrients wash away, leaving nothing but red clay that bakes hard as concrete. So the farmers move on, burning new forest, continuing a cycle that has consumed the island piece by piece. Today, 95% of lemur species face extinction. The Indri, once common across the eastern rainforests, now sings in only a handful of protected areas. Each morning, their calls rise through the mist like laments for what's been lost. These are the oldest primates on Earth, survivors of the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, and now they cannot survive us. The fossa, too, faces extinction. With only a few hundred individuals scattered across isolated forest fragments, the species lacks the genetic diversity needed for long-term survival. When the top predator disappears, entire ecosystems collapse. Without fossas, certain prey populations explode, overgrazing vegetation and accelerating forest degradation. It's a cascade of consequences, each extinction triggering the next. Madagascar covers less than 0.4% of Earth's land surface, yet it harbors more than 5% of all known species. 90% of those species exist nowhere else on the planet. When a Malagasy species goes extinct, it doesn't just vanish from Madagascar, it vanishes from existence itself forever. The implications extend far beyond conservation sentimentality. Inside Madagascar's plants, fungi, and bacteria may be chemical compounds science has never seen before, potential treatments for cancer, antibiotics for resistant bacteria, solutions to problems we haven't yet discovered. But every time a forest burns, hundreds of species turn to smoke, taking their secrets with them. Consider this: the rosy periwinkle, a small flower from Madagascar's forests, has yielded compounds that dramatically improved survival rates for childhood leukemia and Hodgkin's lymphoma. One plant species saved countless human lives. How many more cures are hidden in the forests we're burning? How many solutions to humanity's future challenges are we destroying before we even know they exist? Yet Madagascar is not dead, only dying. And where there's life, there's hope. Across the island, conservation groups fight an uphill battle to save what remains. In Rainforests, scientists and local communities work together to replant forest trees, one by one, restoring fragments of the jungle. In Andasaibe, children learn to recognize lemurs by their calls. taught to understand that forests provide not just firewood, but life itself. International researchers arrived not merely to study, but to listen, to let the earth tell its story again. Camera traps set deep in restored forests capture images of lemurs returning after years of absence. Young fossas appear in areas where the forest is recovering, proof that nature can heal if given the chance. In some regions, local communities have embraced ecotourism, discovering that protecting the forest provides a sustainable livelihood rather than a quick fix followed by poverty. These victories are small, fragile, and desperately hard-won, but they matter. Every tree planted is a statement of hope. Every lemur saved is a thread in the larger web of life. Every community that chooses preservation over destruction is proof that humans can change, that we can learn to live alongside nature rather than in opposition to it. Across the Red Highlands, dust rises thick in the air. Yet deep in the remaining forests, life continues with quiet resilience. Tiny lemurs still give birth each year. Ancient baobabs still flower when the rains come. The first drops of the wet season still fall like promises of renewal. Nature fights for survival here, silently, patiently, day after day, as it has for 80 million years. The question facing us isn't whether Madagascar can survive, it's whether we'll choose to let it live. This island is more than just a biodiversity hotspot on a conservation map. It's a mirror reflecting humanity's relationship with the natural world. If we let Madagascar die, we lose more than lemurs and baobabs. We lose a piece of Earth's memory, a fragment of the story that connects all life on this planet. We lose the chance to stand beneath a singing Indri and hear the voice of deep time. We lose the opportunity to watch a chameleon materialize from what we thought was empty bark. We lose the privilege of seeing our planet at its most creative, most beautiful, most impossibly alive. But as long as a single raindrop lands on a baobab leaf, as long as a lemur's golden eyes shine in the darkness, as long as the forests still breathe with morning mist, Madagascar has not surrendered. And as long as this ancient island survives, Earth itself still has hope. The question is whether we'll answer that hope with action or watch in silence as one of evolution's greatest masterpieces fades into memory. Another victim of the only extinction event caused not by asteroids or ice, but by indifference. The choice, as it has always been, is ours.